Jingle bells. Jingle bells. Would help if I put the microphone on. Just what everybody wants to hear at Christmas time, how to be more productive. No, that's not what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to talk about the top worst productivity tips because I've done it, and I'm sure we all have tried to follow the best advice out there, listening to some people sharing their opinion on YouTube and realizing it's actually not for us. I'm here to document my adventures and discoveries and share them with you, and hopefully it'll help you in your life as well, as it did for me. Learn by my F-ups. So the number one worst productivity I have tested has been you just need to be disciplined. You just need to be disciplined! No, sometimes it's actually not that at all. I've found that some pursuits in life have been nothing to do with the lack of putting in work consistently and putting in a lot of effort. Often it's not about the consistent hard work. It's about having a terrible or wrong-fitting goal. For example, if you put a lot of work and dedication to building a relationship, but the other person doesn't care about building it, then no amount of discipline on your side is going to make that situation any better. Unless you start, of course, involving weapons, but you don't use them, of course, because you're not a violent person. Then they're loving you under duress, and it could go full-blown Stockholm weird, and honestly, the world does not need any more dysfunction. So don't do that. Also, the word discipline has a kind of shaming connotation to it. I find that shame is not exactly the best method to foster any kind of enthusiasm to do something. Let's just look at the definition of discipline here. The Oxford definition of discipline: the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience. Punishment to correct disobedience. Reminds me of childhood all over again. No wonder we rebel if we have to deal with that kind of shite in our adult life as well. Did anyone actually enjoy being walloped by the wooden spoon until it broke in half? The spoon broke in half, not your butt. Well, that kind of did too. Or maybe it was a thong for you.
Are you the boss around here or what?
Fat woman, my ass!
But something I found way more encouraging in order to do something, which is the opposite of discipline, is being naturally inspired or drawn to do something. When I start thinking about the freedom to choose in life, freedom to go anywhere, when I want, do what I want, with who I want, when I want. Just thinking of that, it just gives you on a roll of inspiration, and I think, wild horses can't stop my imagination. A handy thing that I started doing, which might be useful to you as well, is to jot down notes of when you're on that high, of when you have that inspiration. Jot down what the thoughts in your head were at the time, and also the feelings. And it's really key to write down the feelings that are associated with that thought. And then once you start identifying the thought, sometimes you can see patterns in what you think starts affecting the feelings that you experience. That way we can start having our own custom-made mini manual on how we operate. On those days where we're having a bit of a struggle, we can give ourselves a guide or reminder about what to pursue. The second one, about listening to music while studying. Does listening to music while concentrating actually work for any one of you? I just haven't had any luck with it. I don't seem to be able to concentrate because I get so emotionally involved in the music and feelings come up, and then I don't want to study anymore, which is probably telling me something. Music to me is instant emotion. I get connected with it so easily and so quickly, and then I don't want to use my brain anymore. I just want to feel and experience. And I've tried those tranquil background lo-fi or fire crackling music sounds, even rain in the forest, that kind of ambient background music. And then I start fantasizing about, ditching everything and living off grid in a book-filled cabin in the forest with mountains and snow by myself, which is really silly because at first I'll be moving out there like all strong woman. I'm the strong independent woman. I can do things by myself, like how I speak to my man, like, hey baby, yeah, slap me because I have high pain tolerance. I'm from the streets of Brisbane. But also me, I would really love some help chopping wood, please. Wow, that went off topic really fast. So, music, often more distracting than helpful. And sometimes it's a stark reminder that the music that you're listening to is far more inspiring and enjoyable than the task you're actually doing. Number 3, don't quit. Yeah, well, sometimes you should. Because sometimes drinking milk past its expiry date is not a smart thing to do. In fact, it's never a smart thing to do. Learning to know when to quit is an incredible insight to develop. Seth Godin, in his book The Dip, mentioned a concept known as the sunk cost fallacy. When you don't quit on something because you have already put so much time, money, or energy into it already, and you keep on investing because you can't possibly lose all of that investment now. Examples of sunk cost fallacy is choosing to sit there and continue watching a terrible movie because you've already paid for the ticket, or keeping an incompetent employee rather than replacing them because you've already invested thousands of dollars in training them. Or sticking with a relationship because no matter how miserable the other person is and their negativity leaks all over your life, oh well, I've been in it for over a decade now. You feel like if you just put more in, if you don't quit, that it's going to somehow get better and will justify all of the sacrifice and suffering that you've already endured. And this can kind of be reinforced by our culture, which is like, don't quit, keep hustling, hustle harder. You know, sometimes, no, you should be doing the opposite. Just maybe we might have a bit of an addiction to a fear of loss, or maybe an addiction to the idea that we should be the stoic, stick to it no matter what kind of a person. You can also win by quitting. There is actually wisdom to letting go. Some stuff in life just does not happen. You're in the wrong place, the wrong time, with the wrong strategy, the wrong planet maybe. I recently learned, I was watching a channel called More Plates, More Dates, I think it was. Anyway, this guy goes into detail about what goes on behind the fitness industry. And there was one episode I was watching where he was talking about female fitness influencers. And I didn't know that this is where I feel like a 90-year-old, you know, lovely grandma in the village. It's kind of like, really? Like that stuff goes on with you kids? I didn't know that women took anabolic steroids. A lot of fitness influencers take them. So I was looking on Instagram at these women and thinking, well, I don't know, I'm doing all the things. I would just prefer honesty. Like, yeah, you do you, you know, but when you don't think that people are playing by a different set of rules and they're putting out an image that you can also get this if you just do this and you do just that and you don't get the result. Sometimes you have the wrong data, trying to look like something that isn't even real. And the real drugs taken aren't even talked about, and you're marketed a 12-week plan. Your goal is actually incorrect, or at best is misinformed. So your strategy is not even on the same page. So some investments are just terrible. I'm not saying that investing in your health is a terrible investment. It's actually, I believe it's one of the best things you can do. But some goals are just not right because you have the wrong data. Letting go of holding on so tightly to a goal for years, I've found that suddenly new opportunities and new doors open. Things fall in your lap in a more aligned manner. And sometimes completely new goals and better ones come into frame. Knowledge and perspective about things changes over time as we accumulate, hopefully, wisdom. Getting things done only comes through hard work. Well, grinding. Oh yeah, grinding. Nope, that's not what this is about today. Don't flog more out of yourself today than you can completely recover from tomorrow. There is a point of diminishing returns. If you push yourself so hard today that you're wiped out physically, mentally, or emotionally for tomorrow, then over time you're going to make less progress and likely will enjoy it less than you would if you prioritized your consistent well-being on your way to your target. What if ease was not something that we ridiculed, but is in fact how we get to something a lot quicker and with a ton of a lot more joy in the process of reaching that? I've come across this book called Effortless by Greg McKeown. So Greg wrote this book called Effortless. I was drawn to this book because I was looking for tools that I could use. I'm sure I'm not the only one here that feels like I don't need one more blinking app for somebody to contact me on. Like for me, I have at least 10 different platforms that people can reach me on. I've got, I've got email, I've got WhatsApp, text message, phone, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Slack, Teams, Zoom. I don't want another. So Greg recommends having a lower and an upper boundary. The lower boundary is the minimum output per day, like writing one sentence of a book that you're authoring, or a minimum set of time for a job you're doing. And the upper bound is the maximum point at which you stop. You say no to more, like writing no more than half a page per day, or turning off your Teams, WhatsApp alerts, and switching off at a certain time. That's a done for the day time. So that's going to be your upper bound. And the reason you do that is so it leaves enough in the tank to be inspired to do day 2, day 3, day 4, and so on. Otherwise, you live a Zoom, shovel food in my mouth, sleep, repeat kind of a life where you look at your fitness watch and you've only done 200 steps a day. And that's normal. There will be no end to that unless you make a change. Rest is productive. Athletes get taught this, that recovery is critical to performance, because being tired kills your inspiration as well, and you make really poor choices when you're tired. I know when I'm tired, sometimes I put on the cranky pants. Mostly I put on the hilarious pants where I start getting hysterical. Like, I make jokes and I think things in my head are really funny and I'm laughing at myself, and then I'm like, somebody needs to go to bed. Another thing that I've been pondering too is, when has sacrifice ever felt good? Because when you achieve that goal, you also carry with you all of that energy that you felt in the pursuit of it. I'll share with you my bicep photo. Like, this picture might look like success to some people, but the reality was I did not enjoy working out every day. I just did it to tick off that whole be consistent thing and hope that one day I would thoroughly enjoy my workouts, but that day never actually came. And I didn't enjoy feeling hungry all the time, because I bought into that 6 small meals a day mindset. And now that science is coming out saying, no, that's a terrible idea to be constantly eating because you're spiking your insulin, and it's just a whole other story. So off topic, but what you think is success, if you're miserable in the process leading up to it, you're not going to be happy when you hit the goal. Yeah, you're happy that you hit the goal, but it doesn't have that feeling of complete joy because you hated the journey. What's the point? Don't you want to enjoy everything along the way as well as the destination? Most of our lives is taken up with the journey, with that trying to get somewhere. It's not actually when you get there, because as soon as you get there you're onto something else, because it takes way more time to actually achieve something than the 5 seconds experience of having achieved it. Doing the hardest thing first. Often I've found that doing the hardest thing first in the day becomes such a monster of a task that it takes all day or more than one day to do it. And if I manage to do such a giant task in the morning or that day, then often I've felt so depleted I didn't want to do anything else. What I've found works is, rather than choosing the biggest, giant, hardest thing to do first, choose the most joyful activity first. That can often mean writing a list of all the things that need to be done, or a breakdown of the steps in order to achieve something, and then pick the most joyful. The thing that makes you feel, oh, that'd be kind of fun, or even, oh, that's not too bad, because that's a great way to set the tone for the rest of the day. Often by choosing that lower hanging fruit, or the easiest or the more joyful task, that it provides that momentum to keep going, because when you strike that off, it's like, oh, now I can do something else. I'll do the next thing. Springboarding. Off one thing onto another. An alternative to completing the hardest task first idea is to limit it by time, such as I'll just do 50 minutes of the hardest task. So you're, in a way, still keeping joy and allowing yourself space and momentum to move forward, and you're not subscribing 100% to that eat the frog mantra first thing in the morning. Drop it and pop it. Drop the bar. Done is better than perfect. And having done something, it forms a template. And you can always tweak the process next time. Pop it. If all else fails, just do what you want to do. Or do nothing. Why fight it? Just let go of control. It's clear that when you're having so much resistance, you obviously don't want to do the thing that you're trying to force yourself to do for reasons. And the thing you'd rather be doing is probably a heck of a lot of fun, so go and do it. Sometimes that's all you need to do. Way better than bringing your bad vibes to the table and then circle back around to that list later on. Because sometimes forcing yourself to do something very hard, very unenjoyable, and building up all of that resentment, sometimes, in the words of Sigourney Weaver,
Well, screw that!